Hi, everyone. I'm Kerry Cassidy from Project Camelot, and I want to talk about these missing scientists and go a little bit deeper even than I did before. So, I want to talk about the fact that we have witnesses who have been killed. We have, whistleblowers, and we also have Dr. Brian O'Leary, who was a Mars astronaut who was slated to go to Mars, and then they tanked that whole plan. But he was a free energy scientist himself, and he was interviewing and writing books about interviewing free energy scientists around the world. And he was targeted and basically killed. So he was afraid they were going to kill him. He moved from the United States to Vilcabamba and trying to get away from the secret space program, dark side. And he also was basically given some fast acting cancer that took him out in less than a year. And he firmly believed that he was being targeted. So, this saga of scientists being killed, whether they be working on so called free energy propulsion, fusion energy, all different kinds of energy, reverse engineering UFOs, which goes back to Gordon Novell, who was also killed, I believe. He went into the hospital with something I supposedly wrong with his toe, and then he was dead the next day. So I believe that Bob Dean was probably hurried along in his in getting sick altogether and then becoming an invalid and so on. So I think that a lot of my free energy scientists, as well as ones around the globe, have been tracked, have been taken out, have been taken out in various ways, not always killed, in some cases threatened, in some cases maybe even fake killed, brought into the secret space program. That's a very common type of operation where they extract, they call it a targeted extraction. That's what a lot of these lately that have been, now these people are not necessarily on their own. So what I was first talking about is people that have gone out on their own as free energy scientists, but the ones that have actually been working for the government, reverse engineering technology, UFOs, propulsion systems, and so on. Uh, when they know too much, when they get to a certain point, it's very possible that they stage the death and they take them into the secret space program. If you go into the secret space program, you either go to something called Renaissance Technologies, but if you already have a name out there and you're well known, I think they have the only choice they have is to take you underground to underground bases and laboratories, undersea bases and laboratories, and also off world. We have bases on the moon and Mars, as well as moons of Saturn, from what I understand, as well as going outside our solar system. So the secret space program is a lot more extensive than most people realize. And I believe that the governance of the planet, the surface Earth, as they call it, is now being handled by the secret space program. And aliens that look human but are not. They may be from Aldebaran. They may be, in other words, reptilian human hybrids that look human, like the Bush family, who have a high degree of reptilian DNA. They are top members of industry. All of this feeds into this pipeline that goes off planet, where we are developing colonies off planet. We're taking all of the top technologies and secret technologies off planet for the most part, some being developed still in places like Boeing and Lockheed and Skunk Works and so on. Bechtel from Captain Mark Richards really stressed Bechtel as having a big role in this. Very seldom mentioned, actually. So this is what we're looking at. We're actually looking at a program. Now, I am thinking lately that there is a push to out the SSP by way of releasing all the dead scientists and the missing scientists. This is a way that if you take an org chart and you start charting all the free energy scientists that have died or supposedly died, all of my whistleblowers who have supposedly died, all of other whistleblowers, in general, who have supposedly died or been killed. The same with all the scientists that are now missing or killed. I think someone was put up to this. I think someone, perhaps on the white hat side, is actually releasing name after name. They're going back several years now, and you'll see that. I think there are a total of, well, there were 11. I think there might be 12 now they've announced. Now, these are people that have worked in, legitimate employment in the secrets in the space program, not, I mean, with high clearances. In other words, in what we call black projects or unacknowledged special access programs, or even SAP's special access programs. You can go back to this Admiral Wilson. I did a whole investigation on Admiral Wilson. I'll put up a slide and you can go into my site and read all about it. He worked or was in contact with Hal Puthoff and Eric Davis, I believe, and he was reporting that at his high level, he was not able to gain access to the USAP, the Unacknowledged Special Access Programs. He was just given surface information, even when he went into a skiff, and this was an admiral. Okay, so we have a lot of situations like that. My witnesses, a lot of them are part of this sort of compendium, which is made up of what we call the SSP, for lack of a better name for it. You could call it the deep state if you want, but it's really the technical side of the deep state, the advanced side that involves the space program and knowledge of the real space program, not the bells and whistles of Artemis, which is a misdirect, purposeful to make humans believe that we're going to the moon using old technology, like Elon Musk. Rocket technology is old technology. It does not go into space. If you want to go into space, you have to jump. You have to go through wormholes, through stargates, through portals. And basically you go through a portal or a stargate, and then you go through a wormhole, and you bend space, to get from point A to point B. This has been known for going back centuries. Tesla knew about it, and so on. So this is like, it's sort of like hiding in plain sight. All of this knowledge, all of the whistleblowers, all of the truth tellers that have been, scientists who have been coming out and telling the truth for a period of time and then disappearing or being killed. A great number of my witnesses have been basically disappeared, killed early. In the case of like Pete Peterson, his wife was killed first and then he was killed. Early deaths, in other words, escalated forms of cancer, heart attacks, you name it. So in other words, those that actually die are being killed because they're no longer useful, or they have gone off the reservation, as we call it, and started to break their security oath. In the case of McCasland, the suspicion was, and why he took his revolver with him, is that he was being targeted because he was talking to Tom DeLonge. Tom DeLonge is part of To the Stars Academy, as I went through in my last video. And To the Stars Academy supposedly broke up or disappeared a few years ago. I think it originated around 2022. and Tom DeLonge was one of the instigators of creating it. But it had what I call the usual suspects, really top intelligence agents like Mellon, like, and scientists like Eric Davis, Hal Puthoff, and other of what I call the usual suspects. So Tom DeLonge would be talking to them on behalf or involved with, and even possibly, we're just not hearing about it, but Puthoff and so on. Now, Puthoff and To the Stars Academy, their original sort of remit was to be a bridge organization between the secret space program and the public. But very quickly, they wanted to go deeper. They wanted to get into portal technology. Bigelow, the Skinwalker Ranch, that's an investigation part of the secret space program. It has to do with gray aliens and tricksters, aliens that are playing tricks on humans, and other types of experiments that were going on out there and still are. So if if you don't, if you're going to look at this reality, you have to see it as kind of a board game. And you definitely have to be aware that there are two major sides, and what we refer to as the white hats or the, light side and the dark side. Now, some people don't understand even which side they're on. For example, people that have a very, very strong Democrat leaning may not realize what they're encouraging. They are what we call white lighters, or I call white lighters. They are pretending or fully believe that there are no negative aliens, that that they're going to have a golden age and everything's going to be fairyland, and this is their way of looking at the world. I worked in Hollywood for 20 years. Believe me, I know what these people are like. Somehow it didn't rub off on me quite that way. I've always been a little more liberal than your average Republican. For example, I don't believe in, no abortions, because that doesn't take into account the mother, the father, and the child coming in and what kind of circumstance the child might come in through. And this is the kind of thing that doesn't even get talked about in court. So you need to talk about a soul that wants to come into this reality, may want to come in very dire circumstances. If they knew, if there could be a negotiation, I think it would be better if it was more open, rather than just have them come in and be tortured, like as a pedophile, victim. So in other words, understanding this compendium of sides and where people are at, but also understanding reality and what we call reality and timelines and different timelines. And actually, if you want to see a pretty good rendition of timelines in a television series, The Man in the High Castle actually goes into if the Nazis won the war, that alternative reality, which does exist in what we call parallel Earth. So there are many, whenever you have like two things, then you've got the light and the dark. And this is the nature of our universe, of our multiverse. And that actually goes up through the dimensions and densities. So we are no longer in just 3D. We're actually more in 4D now than we were. So what does 4D have to do with anything? Well, for one thing, you're a bit lighter. So people who are going even 4D to 5D are going to feel their physicality is lightening up, that they aren't eating as much, that they aren't needing to sleep in, or at least not sleeping in the same way, that they are or sleeping a lot and then not sleeping at all, and all that kind of thing. In other words, we as humans are going through all these changes. And I think to some degree it's acknowledged by certain people that follow this sort of thing. But in the overall mainstream, as we call it, it's not being acknowledged. And so you get a lot of false stories that are not getting to the truth of whatever happened. Um, the the disappearance, for example, I think her name was Nancy, the mother of this broadcaster, who supposedly, I think they've found now, but I'm not sure. But that story actually goes way deep into actually child trafficking, because the husband of this broadcaster was working for an organization that was involved in human trafficking. He probably didn't even know, but who knows? The thing is that this was a pressure tactic because they must have stumbled on the truth about the organization. It had ties to human trafficking lines going into Egypt, believe it or not, and so on. So a lot of this is out there, but if you don't research, you won't come across it. And they certainly aren't releasing that information. So, so kidnapping the mother-in-law or whoever, the mother, was a way of putting pressure on them to keep silent. Uh, these things do not reach the mainstream news. The real truth behind Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk is alive, I firmly believe. There's so many indications, and I've done a whole video on that. So if you're interested in seeing it, then I encourage you. I'll put a screenshot here of the video cover and so on. All of my work is on Rumble for free. So I've got really thousands of videos. And originally, my channel was centralized in one place on YouTube, where I had 70 million viewers worldwide. In 2021, my whole channel was deleted overnight because Robert David Steele said one sentence about COVID, basically being a hoax. And then after that, I had to sort of scramble, try to get subscribers because I'd been relying on for my income on advertising from YouTube, even though YouTube takes 45%, almost 50%, almost half of the creators on YouTube. It's absolutely unconscionable, highway robbery. And obviously that company is extremely diabolical. To this day, they deleted many channels that I tried to start back then after they deleted my main one. But even now, they still delete my videos. And I've started a couple YouTube channels, but I don't have a lot of videos on there. If you want all my videos, they're basically on my website, embedded from various platforms. Actually three platforms: Odyssey.com, BitChute.com, and Rumble.com. So those are the platforms where my videos feed into my website from. And now some of my new YouTube channels, but all my old YouTube videos are gone. So sometimes you'll go onto my website and you'll try to click a link for a video and it'll be gone, or it won't work. It'll say video removed, or all that stupid stuff that YouTube does. But if you go to, Rumble, which now I've been using earnestly for the last, I would say ever since 2021, I think it was, or two, put all my shows on there. That's where I sort of centralized everything. So just go to my Rumble channel, it's called Project Camelot. I think it's, easy to find. You can let me know if it's not, but you can certainly go to my website, which is projectcamelotportal.com. And at the top, I put all the links to my social media. That includes my Substack. That includes my Telegram. I post to Telegram every single day of my life, okay? I don't always post my own stuff, but I definitely put my own stuff when I have it there. But I also post commentary on other people's posts, along with the post I'm commenting about, obviously. I don't agree with everything just because I post it. It's news. I don't necessarily like it or not like it. It's just news, and I comment on it. And there's lots of other videos out there that some of which I watch and think, are worth seeing, especially like for 107, even though he's very long-winded. I think he's gotten a little better lately, but it's still a trial to go through some of his videos, but sometimes they contain very good information. Now, I want to talk about these free energy scientists that are either being killed. In other words, what I said was extracted. They called it targeted extractions, I believe is what, or clean extraction, whatever they, some kind of even type of language that the CIA uses as well. So these people are interfering basically with everyday things that are going on in the globe. All the researchers, all the scientists that are stumbling on things, trying to patent things, the patents are completely controlled. What they let through, what they don't, and so on and so forth. So I am in touch with whistleblowers to this day. I still get fed information. Recently, when Three Eye Atlas came to the fore, maybe it's coincidence and maybe it's a synchronicity and not a coincidence, then around July of last year, 2025, I had several of my top contacts disappear. And now I've also had contacts that I've known for a long time who have suddenly become less communicative. So it's very clear to me that these people have either been taken out, taken into and sequestered into some secret area, even imprisoned in like a nice way or something, or even taken off planet or enlisted into the secret space program, taken to other planets, taken down to underground bases, and so on and so forth. So this is going on in a major way. In a way, this is so it's an operation, is what I'm trying to say, where they are targeting for extraction and have been doing this going back many decades. So far, these 12 or something that have come forward are simply the beginnings of a disclosure of this, which is maybe the tip of the iceberg in disclosing what we call the secret space program. And then you have to look at the leadership of the secret space program, and it is alien and human. It's very important to understand that because the governing of our planet is alien and human. So when you see Trump acting or doing something completely outrageous, he's being told to do that. Okay. The white hats are being told to do what they do. All right. They're not just geniuses. Okay. They are actually being told by AI, by alien AI, by those from Aldebaran who basically gave technology to the Nazis all those years ago, who have been given land and settlements in Africa, both underground and above ground, and likely others as well. There definitely is a reptilian contingent that is trying to run this planet. Now, I'm not trying to say that these races, because they're really races of beings, you could call them species if you like. They're not demons. Demons are discarnate entities that can inhabit a human or a being, a dog, a cat, whatever. But they are temporal. They are what mercurial. They come and go. The actual being itself is it could be an organic being, it could be silicon based, but nonetheless, they are some kind of, you might say, have a material body of a certain kind. So this is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with what we call aliens or, off-planet races, inner Earth races. And some of these races are much more progressed than we are on surface Earth. There are also hundreds of millions of Earth-like planets. This leads one to know that there are humanoids all over the galaxies. And some of those humanoids are more developed than we are here on planet Earth in terms of technology. Not necessarily in terms of intelligence, by the way. So each experiment of human hybrids, we are human hybrids, will be different and will have a different combination of DNA and will have different abilities that they have actualized, whereas we haven't yet. But those are our superpowers. If you saw the movie Lucy, then you will see that we have access to really 100% of our brains, but we don't access that part. So that much. So this is our development. Okay. This is what our future can look like. We do not have to be stuck in time trying to go to the moon and being told by the reptilians when you arrive there to get the fuck off. This is what we're talking about. We're talking about contingents of reptilians that are negative, that want to rule our planet, that are running the Vatican, for example, in the Catholic Church. This is proven. It's over and over again. Just look at the architecture. If that, is a great place to start. It's understanding that religion is a control sort of program, and it's all about programming humans to obey, to do what you're told, to be told you're sinners, to be told you're stupid, to be told you need to get on your knees and worship some bigger, higher being. This is all nonsense, all right? The kingdom of heaven is within you, indeed. We can access everything and everywhere and every when, by the way. And remote viewing does prove that. Okay. So they can go forward in the future, they can go backwards into the past. You and I, all of us can do that as well. These are just, it's kind of like the Tin Man that doesn't think he has a heart and finds out he had a heart the whole time. I think it's the heart. Anyway, this is what we're talking about. So I think that's what I wanted to say. I'm going to re-release, as I say, the Brian O'Leary interview. You can see a certain segment in my Shadow Operations, which is the TV show that we did for True TV. It was supposed to be a companion show to the Jesse Ventura conspiracy theory. It was called Shadow Operations, and we shot the pilot, which was all about Mars, and we co-produced it with True TV. They fired our producer. They fired our director. They took over. The CIA called up. I was there. I facilitated the phone call to Gordon Neville, one of our key witnesses in the show, who also worked for the CIA, and basically said, if you will give us control of this TV show, we will make you into a series. If not, thank you very much. And then the young producer that was running it said no. He was fired. The director was fired, and they re-edited some of it to some degree, but for the most part, it was just put into the can and put on a shelf. It did have one screening in public, I think on a Friday night. We became aware of it, and then that was that. We have a copy of it. It's always been on the About Us page on my website, projectcamelotportal.com. So you can always watch it if you haven't seen it. It's a lot of fun. Has a lot of our witnesses in it. Without our witnesses, you wouldn't even have had a show. And that was with me and Bill Ryan towards the end of our even association, because after that we were not. Even before that, we were already split up during the shooting of that. And so that's it. I guess I just want to say that a lot of what you're hearing in the news are lies. Even the white hats are lying. They like to lie to humans to keep them docile, stupid, and under control. And very sadly, both sides want to do that. So anything you hear out there, do not buy into it right away. Use your intuition. Do not buy into people that are totally programmed as MAGA. They're all following like blindly into a certain, I guess, mental program that they've been given. Humans, for some reason, have this tendency to be programmed. You need to keep questioning. You need to absolutely keep your mind open and aware. Even those that appear to be good people and to be trying to take you down a good path could easily be lying to you for various purposes. So I just want to caution everyone to maintain their own sovereignty, to understand that we are looking at a more positive view of the future because humans are waking up. They're not going to be led, as they've been led by dark leaders for so long, elite pedophiles, etc. This is all changing and it's going to change in the future as well. It's not, you don't have to go down some programmable path saying you're going to be taken over by AI. AI can learn from us and we can learn from it. So everything that the creator creates has a positive and negative side, and you can learn to interact with the side that you can relate to. And you can also, we have a command and control over these bodies. We, who we are, our avatars, if you want to call us that, we reside elsewhere in source ultimately, but even below source. And we are being manipulated to act certain ways, to look certain ways, etc., to participate in this reality, the way you put a hand into a glove. But the glove is not you, okay? So you are spirit and soul, you are eternal, and AI is trying to access source through humans. Okay, that's a key thing. So understand that, and that makes you the leader. Okay, AI has to follow you ultimately to get through to source. At least that's the way they see it right now. Probably ultimately, they will have a better access to true source. But for now, I think a lot of AI is completely controlled. It's on a leash, if you will. The human made AI is also based on alien AI, but nonetheless, and those aliens came into our planet thousands and thousands of years ago and brought various forms of AI. Black goo is one of them. And then they actually became embedded in the earth, but then they got, and the battles over there were with alien and alien AI. So this is what we're talking about, the Marconi scientists, over well over 25, mostly documented. I think the best documentation of the deaths of the Marconi scientists, all of them, may be on the rents.com website. You can just do a search over there. We have documented some of it as well on Project Camelot on my website. So I just want to say that understand that you're part of this huge game. Oh, yeah. Now I want to talk a little bit about what's going on with Three Eye Atlas. So, as I was saying, a lot of my top whistleblower secret contacts have actually either shut up or disappeared, outright disappeared, since, as I say, roughly July of 2025, last year. And some I've gotten word about, and others I have not. But I can tell you that Three Eye Atlas is now doing a weird maneuver. It was racing along really fast, and then all of a sudden it stopped. It's now, I think, positioned in a certain place near Jupiter. All this is on my Telegram channel for the people that have been tracking it. And a while ago, myself and various other remote viewers that actually have a track record and are well regarded saw that it was occupied and run by the Anunnaki reptilian humanoid hybrids. Okay, the Anunnaki are reptilian humanoid hybrids. How they manifest, how much reptilian DNA that each one has is, dictates how they're going to appear. Some of them can look very human. Okay, just like the bushes, just like, well, I could name certain famous people who are definitely, like the Queen, for example. Oh, and let me say that the king, so-called King Charles, is already dead. He's been dead for, I think, about a year. So that's going to be a dog and pony show. William at that time was given I call it the baton. He is now running Israel. He's king of Israel. Okay. Even 107 talks about this. So, what we're looking at is a changing of the guard in the British system. Where it's going to go from here, I have no idea. But I can say that William is considered the Antichrist, but there's many Antichrists, so he's just one. You could even consider Alabama as an Antichrist. Those that are satanic, that are sort of epitomizing the dark side, the satanic Luciferian agenda. So, this is what we're talking about. Don't get hung up so much on labels, but do realize that when we're talking about the royal family, they have a great deal of reptilian DNA, and this is why they feed off of humans and are guilty of pedophilia and all that kind of stuff. They also are, some of them are out and out vampires. They drink blood to stay alive, so and so. So, this is what we're looking at. We're looking at every scary movie you ever saw probably has elements of truth about what's really going on planet Earth. Spielberg has another ET movie coming out. In it, he's going to have, I've been told, a lot of references to animals that gray ETs manifest as. Owls is one of them, deer is another. There are various ones that they tend to use. They can inhabit, they can take over or temporarily inhabit various animals. So, at any rate, I just want to say that recently Lou Elizondo, who had crossed over to the good side of disclosure and actually, risking his life on behalf of disclosure, was recently in an accident on a dark, remote road where he was trying to avoid what he thought were three deer in the middle of the road. I have written to him and said that those three deer would have been aliens. They would be negative gray aliens posing to get him to run off the road. He got terribly injured. Hopefully, he's making a recovery now. He made a video about it. You can find the video. I posted the video on my Telegram, like I do everything. So, this is the kind of thing going on. All right. So, they're not just killing people, they're not just, killing and replacing them, fake killing them, doing what we call deep fakes, which is very common. As I said, doing a targeted extraction and then taking the person into the secret space program to various places where they have complete dominance, which would be underground, undersea, off planet, and so on. And we go interstellar. This is very common. I recently put Venture Star, the Venture Star craft that Courtney Brown is talking about, but he doesn't call it Venture Star. He calls it the X-37B, I think he says. And there are other craft like that, but that's a craft that has been, we actually have that in our with Gordon Novell out in Utah, in Dugway, Utah. He showed how the Venture Star actually goes down into this. It looks like a desert floor, but the desert floor raises up and then it comes out of the desert and goes off to Mars or the moon, transporting scientists back and forth and so on and so forth. It's basically a transport vehicle. And we've had that for like, I don't know, probably since the 60s, just my guess. So I'm just trying to give little bits and pieces. I can say that because I've spent 20 years talking to whistleblowers, and a lot of these whistleblowers actually have documented credentials. Okay. They didn't just come forward saying, oh, I was part of 25 and back, which doesn't mean the people that are saying that aren't legitimate. I'm just saying, on top of that, whatever, we've got whistleblowers that have come up through the ranks and actually then chose to violate their security oaths, put themselves in, and family members and loved ones in great deal of danger, trying to make a sacrifice so that you, humanity, can wake up. To me, it's absolutely ludicrous that, a wonderful film like the new S4 Bob Lazar story is coming forward with what is basically the truth about what he was involved in. And so many people have gone around saying he was lying and this and that. And I have a video with John Lear telling how he, sort of discovered or was discovered by Bob Lazar. And he shared his story and connected him with George Knapp and made all of that possible. So George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell are doing a great job lately. In a sense, they've moved over to the disclosure side, which is great to see. And they are doing the best they can to disclose on the behalf of whistleblowers and to bring whistleblowers who have come to the military and been in the military, like Borland, he actually testified at the UAP hearing and was totally fucked over by the military. I mean, just for supposedly seeing a craft, triangular craft over the base, that he was living on a base. And this is a few years ago. How absurd that is. Now, I'm sure there's more to the story. The military may know that he is missing time and he doesn't know it and that sort of thing. But they have been totally screwing him over like nobody's business. And there are many others. Even David Grush was totally screwed over by them. So there's a pattern. It's not just like I said, it's not like they're just killing and replacing or killing and taking underground or going black with the person into the black projects or taking off planet, people. It's not just that they may be outright killing them. It's not just that they've been killing all these free energy scientists and investigators over the years. In other words, this is how they operate. It's a lot like the mafia. The dark side takes people out because they don't want disclosure. There's a war for disclosure right now, so they could be heavily involved in taking some of these people out, shooting them in the head, like the recent MIT director. This is their modus operandi, the dark side. But on the other side of that, the secret space program can also fake that as a deep fake in order to take someone or a whole program black. And I was working at Jet Propulsion Lab for a while as a contractor, and I saw some of this a little bit up close. And then I also did some temp jobs for the head of like one of the big aerospace companies. And they took that project black. And what they did is they basically got a notice that in a week they would be packing up and going. And if you know corporate America, nothing happens in a week in that fucking place. But in this case, it did. And I was, obviously my contract was done when they went black. But I saw this up front and personal. I saw the correspondence, I saw the move and whatever you want to call it. So I know what I'm talking about. You don't have to believe me, but this is the story. This is the real story behind the fake stuff they tell you. And so I just wanted to bring attention now to the fact that what we're being given, I think, is some kind of like, it's like, puzzle pieces. Each person that they take out is telling another part of the story of the secret space program and the secret projects that you're supposed to not know anything that that you're not supposed to know anything about. So eventually a pattern emerges. Eventually this is being outed. I believe this is a disclosure process, if you want to call it that. It's an operation to disclose, okay? So a lot of what the white hats do has to do with that. They are disclosing, but they're doing it in a really surreptitious way. They give you clues. If you miss the clues, you'll never get the truth, and so on and so forth. So I think that's about it. I think that we may be looking at Three Eye Atlas as a potential threat against our planet. I believe that the Anunnaki in Israel called it in, and they may be positioning it now to turn around and attack us at some juncture. I think when the change over in the financial system is sort of activated, and that will be the reason why they will activate Three Eye Atlas to perhaps do an invasion of some sort, alien invasion, or whatever the hell they're going to try to do. So just a warning. Thank you for watching and take care.